Close your eyes for a moment, not to sleep yet, just to imagine. Imagine you are floating, not in water, not in air, but in something far larger than either, a place so empty that light itself takes millions of years to cross from one side to the other. There is no wind here, no hum of a distant engine, no rustle of leaves, no breath of another living thing beside your own. You are inside a cosmic void, and tonight we are going to drift into one together. Slowly, gently, we are going to ask a question that sounds simple, but is stranger than it seems. Is there perfect silence inside a cosmic void? Stay with me. Let your body sink into the bed beneath you. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your jaw unclench. There is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do, except listen and drift as we travel together into the quietest places the universe has ever made. To understand silence on this scale, we first have to understand emptiness on this scale. And that is not easy, because the human mind was built for forests and rivers and rooms with walls. It was not built for the scale of galaxies. So let's build it slowly, the way you might build a picture just before sleep, piece by piece, until the whole image floats gently in your mind. Start with the earth, a small blue stone spinning quietly in the dark. Now step back and see the sun, our sun, with Earth and 7 other worlds turning around it in patient, silent orbits. Step back again, much further, and the sun becomes just one light among 400 billion others, all of them held together in a great slow spiral we call the Milky Way. Step back again, and the Milky Way becomes just one smudge of light among billions of other galaxies, each one containing hundreds of billions of stars of its own. Now, and this is where the imagining becomes difficult, step back far enough to see all of those galaxies at once, spread across the observable universe. If you could see them all glowing softly at the same time, you would notice something strange. They do not scatter evenly, like sand thrown across a table. They gather. They cluster into long threads and sheets, called filaments, the way dew gathers along spider webs. Where the threads cross, there are dense knots of galaxies, huge clusters bound tightly together, and in between those threads, in the space the threads do not reach, there is almost nothing at all. Those spaces are called cosmic voids. They are not small. They are not modest little gaps between neighborhoods of stars. Some cosmic voids stretch across hundreds of millions of light years. To cross one at the speed of light, the fastest speed anything can travel in our universe, would take longer than the entire history of complex life on Earth. Let that settle for a moment. A gap in the universe so large that light, the quickest messenger that exists, needs hundreds of millions of years just to get from one wall of it to the other. Now imagine standing in the middle of a space like that. No galaxy nearby, no star nearby, no planet, no moon, no comet drifting past to catch the light. Just darkness stretching outward in every direction, further than imagination wants to go. Is that darkness also perfect silence? That is the question we are drifting toward. Let's slow down even further before we continue, because this is a good place to notice your own body. Notice the weight of your head against the pillow. Notice the small, steady rhythm of your chest rising and falling. Notice how your hands feel, resting quietly at your sides, needing nothing, holding nothing, simply existing in this moment with you. There is no test at the end of tonight's journey. There is no need to remember every detail. You can simply let the words drift past you, the way a slow current carries a leaf downstream. And let your mind rest in the shape of the story rather than the details of it. Voids like the ones we are about to explore are sometimes described by astronomers using very ordinary, homely words, bubbles, pockets, gaps, holes, as if even scientists, faced with something so vast, reach instinctively for small, familiar images to hold on to. Perhaps that is worth remembering tonight. Even the largest, strangest things in existence can be approached gently, in small, familiar pieces, one soft thought at a time. But first, let's talk about how we even found these voids in the first place, because the story itself is a quiet one, told patiently, one small telescope observation at a time. In the late 1970s and into the 1980s, astronomers were doing something that sounds almost meditative. They were mapping the positions of galaxies in the sky, one by one, patiently, the way someone might place stars onto a globe by hand. At first, the assumption was simple. Galaxies should be scattered more or less evenly across space, like grains of salt shaken over a table. That seemed like the tidy, expected answer. But as more and more galaxy positions were plotted, a strange pattern began to emerge. The galaxies were not spreading out evenly at all. They were clumping into long filaments and walls, and leaving behind enormous empty regions where almost nothing had been charted. One of the most famous of these empty regions is called the Boötes Void, named for the constellation in whose direction it appears to lie. When astronomers first mapped it in 1981, they found a spherical region of space so empty of galaxies that it earned an almost playful nickname among scientists, the Great Nothing. The Boötes Void is enormous. Its diameter is roughly 250 million light years. If our Milky Way galaxy sat at its very center, and if you tried to search for the nearest big galaxy neighbor in every direction, you would have needed, at the time of discovery, to search almost the entire width of the void before finding one. Try, gently, to imagine that kind of isolation, not the isolation of a quiet room or an empty street at night, or even the isolation of a solitary sailor in the middle of an ocean. All of those forms of isolation still have neighbors, trees, birds, fish, other ships somewhere over the horizon. The isolation inside a cosmic void is different in kind, not just in degree. It is a form of solitude with almost nothing structured at all nearby. For a distance so large that our best telescopes still strain to see across it. Since then, astronomers have mapped many more voids of many different sizes, scattered throughout the observable universe, forming a vast three-dimensional lattice sometimes called the cosmic web. In this web, galaxies and galaxy clusters make up the glowing threads and knots, while the voids make up the dark spaces between them, like the empty pockets inside a sponge, or the spaces between soap bubbles pressed together. Modern surveys have now identified thousands of these void regions, ranging from relatively modest gaps, tens of millions of light years across, to enormous supervoids stretching well over 1 billion light years from edge to edge. Regions so large that entire clusters of galaxies, each one containing thousands of individual galaxies, could be lost inside them and still leave most of the space untouched. In the decades that followed the first void discoveries, astronomers built ever larger and more ambitious surveys to map the sky in 3 dimensions. Vast collaborative projects spent years measuring the precise distances to hundreds of thousands and eventually millions of galaxies, one careful spectrum at a time, slowly filling in a 3-dimensional map of the visible universe the way a patient cartographer might fill in the edges of an old, unfinished chart. What that map revealed, again and again, confirmed the earliest hints from the Boötes Void discovery. The universe was not a random scattering of galaxies. It was something closer to a living structure, glowing filaments stretching for hundreds of millions of light years. Dense clusters where filaments crossed, and filling most of the remaining volume, dark, quiet voids. Some researchers began comparing the overall shape of the universe to biological forms, a sponge, a web even, loosely, something like the structure of a brain or a piece of neural tissue, threads and knots and open spaces working together to hold a vast, quiet shape. It is a strange comfort, somehow, to think that the largest structure in existence, the arrangement of all matter across the entire observable universe, might loosely resemble the quiet, branching patterns found in much smaller, much more familiar things. Perhaps some patterns simply prefer to repeat themselves at every scale, from the smallest branching root to the largest branching filament of galaxies stretching across the dark. And it's worth pausing here, because there's something calming, oddly, about picturing the universe as a sponge, or a foam of soap bubbles, something so large and violent in its origins, born from the heat and fury of the Big Bang, settling over billions of years into a structure that looks almost gentle. Threads of light, pockets of stillness, a vast, slow breathing pattern spread across all of space. Let your breathing slow to match that pattern if you like. In, and then a soft pause. Out, and then a soft pause. There is no need to rush through this. We have all the time in the universe tonight. But here is where the story takes its first quiet turn. The kind of turn that makes scientists lean a little closer to their screens. Cosmic voids are not, in fact, completely empty. That single fact changes almost everything we thought we understood about silence in space. Let's slow down and look closely at what not completely empty actually means, because the details are stranger and somehow gentler than you might expect. When astronomers first named these regions voids, they meant it in a relative sense. Relative to the crowded filaments and clusters nearby, these regions looked almost empty, but almost empty is not the same as truly empty. Inside a void, there are still a few faint galaxies drifting, isolated and dim, spaced out across unimaginable distances from one another. There is still gas, extremely thin, extremely cold hydrogen, spread so sparsely that a single cubic meter might contain only a handful of atoms. There is still dark matter, invisible and mysterious, forming a faint scaffolding even in the emptiest regions. And there is the afterglow of the universe's birth itself, the cosmic microwave background, a faint bath of radiation left over from the Big Bang, filling every corner of space, including the voids. like a whisper that never quite fades. So even in the quietest regions of the universe, something is there. Faint light, faint matter, a faint, ancient warmth, cooled now to just a few degrees above absolute zero, but still present, still humming softly across all of existence. This is where our question about silence becomes genuinely interesting, because it forces us to ask what silence actually means. In everyday life, when we say a room is silent, we usually mean there is no sound loud enough for our ears to detect. But sound, in the physical sense, is a vibration, a wave of pressure moving through a medium like air or water. Sound needs something to travel through. It needs molecules bumping gently against their neighbors, passing the vibration along, like a long line of people, each nudging the next. And this is the strange, beautiful truth about deep space, including the space inside a cosmic void. There is almost nothing there to carry a vibration. The gas is so thin, the particles so far apart, that sound as we know it, sound the way your ears would recognize it, essentially cannot travel. If you shouted inside a cosmic void, with no spacesuit, no ship, nothing but your own voice, the sound of your voice would have nowhere to go. There would be no medium dense enough to carry it more than a breath's width from your own lips. In that sense, yes. The cosmic void is one of the most silent places that could possibly exist. Silent not just in volume, but silent in the deeper sense that sound itself has almost nothing to travel through. It's worth pausing here to gently correct a picture that movies and television have given many of us over the years. In films, spaceships roar as they pass by, explosions thunder across the void, laser blasts crack sharply through the vacuum. It makes for exciting viewing, but it isn't how space actually behaves. Even in the crowded regions of the galaxy, let alone the emptiness of a void, sound has almost nothing to carry it. An explosion in deep space might release enormous light and heat, visible from far away, but if you were floating nearby in a spacesuit, you would see it happen in complete silence. No boom, no rumble, just a bright, silent bloom of light, expanding outward without a sound. There is something almost gentle in that correction if you let it settle. The universe, for all its violence, colliding galaxies, exploding stars, black holes tearing space itself apart, carries out nearly all of it without a single sound reaching any distant observer. Silence, on the largest scales, is simply the default. Noise is the rare exception, found only in the small pockets where air or water or solid ground exist to carry it, pockets like the one you are resting in right now. And yet, and here is the gentle twist, silence, in the way scientists sometimes describe it, is not quite the same as emptiness. Let's drift a little further and see why. Here's something remarkable. Even though ordinary sound cannot travel through the void the way it travels through the air in your room right now, the universe is not, in the deepest sense, without vibration. Space itself can ripple. In 2015, scientists detected something called a gravitational wave for the first time, a ripple in the fabric of space and time itself, caused by two black holes spiraling into each other and merging over 1 billion light years away. That ripple spread outward in every direction through galaxies, through filaments, through the emptiest voids, at the speed of light, stretching and squeezing space itself by an almost impossibly tiny amount as it passed. Some scientists, working with the data, have taken these ripples and translated them into audible sound waves so human ears could experience, in a symbolic way, what the ripple's pattern felt like. The result sounds like a soft, rising chirp, a brief, ghostly note, lasting only a fraction of a second, the sound of two enormous objects completing the final graceful spiral of their long cosmic dance. That sound is not sound in the traditional sense. It never traveled through air. It traveled through the structure of space and time itself, silently, in the truest physical sense, and was only turned into something our ears could recognize afterward, by human hands, translating an invisible ripple into music we could understand. So even inside the deepest cosmic void, space itself is not entirely still. It can ripple, faintly, in ways our ears could never directly hear, but that our instruments, patient, sensitive, listening for years at a time, can sometimes catch. There's something soothing in that thought, if you let it settle. Even the emptiest places are touched, every so often, by something moving gently through them. Even out there, nothing is completely, permanently isolated from everything else. Let your own breathing continue, slow and steady, in and out, like a distant tide. There is another way scientists listen to the universe, and it has nothing to do with sound at all, at least not at first. Radio telescopes, enormous dishes, some of them wider than a football stadium, spread out sometimes across entire deserts or valleys, do not capture sound waves. They capture radio waves, a form of light invisible to our eyes, arriving quietly from distant galaxies, from the cold hydrogen gas drifting even inside cosmic voids, and from the faint afterglow of the Big Bang itself. Astronomers often describe this work using the language of listening, even though it is technically a form of seeing. They talk about tuning in to a distant galaxy, or picking up a faint signal, or listening for the quiet hum of hydrogen gas scattered across a void. It is a lovely blurring of the senses, born from decades of habit, and it captures something true about the work itself. Sitting for long, patient hours, watching a needle barely twitch on a graph, waiting for the faintest whisper of radio light to arrive after traveling for hundreds of millions of years, does feel, in its own way, like listening for something very far away and very quiet. And when researchers point these giant dishes toward the heart of a cosmic void, what they typically find is a whisper rather than a shout, faint traces of hydrogen gas spread so thin it barely registers, drifting slowly in the dark, the quietest signal captured from the quietest regions of the sky. We are drifting deeper now toward the middle of our story. Let's return to that earlier image. You, floating, somewhere near the center of a cosmic void. What would you actually experience there, if such a thing were possible? First, the darkness, nearly complete. Not the darkness of a cloudy night on Earth, where a little scattered light from a distant town still softens the black. A darkness with almost no galaxies nearby to speckle the sky with light. If you look toward where the nearest large galaxy cluster lay, it might appear only as the faintest smudge, so dim your eye could barely register it, hundreds of millions of light years away. Second, the cold. Space itself, even outside a void, sits at a background temperature of about -270 degrees Celsius, just a few degrees above absolute zero, the coldest temperature physically possible. Inside a void, with even less matter nearby to radiate any warmth at all, that cold would feel, in a poetic sense, even more absolute. Third, and most relevant to our question tonight, the silence. Without a medium to carry sound, without air pressing against your eardrums, without any vibration reaching you in a way your body could translate into noise, you would experience something closer to true silence than almost any human being has ever known. No wind, no hum of insects, no distant traffic, no creak of a house settling in the night, nothing, and yet your own body would not be silent. Your heartbeat would still sound in your own ears, carried not through the emptiness outside you, but through the fluid and bone and tissue inside your own skull. Your breathing, if you had air to breathe, would still hiss softly with each inhale. In the total absence of outside sound, some people report that their own inner sounds, heartbeat, breath, even the faint ringing sometimes called tinnitus, becomes strangely loud, simply because there is nothing else left to listen to. This has actually been tested in a much gentler and safer way right here on Earth. There is a room in Minnesota built inside a research and development laboratory so carefully designed to absorb sound that it holds a world record for being the quietest place on the planet. Its walls, ceiling, and floor are lined with deep fiberglass wedges that swallow up to 99.9% of any sound that touches them. The room is also built on springs, isolating it from vibrations in the building itself. The background noise level inside that room is so low, it is measured in negative decibels, a number that sounds almost impossible, but simply means the sound level drops below the normal threshold of human hearing itself. Visitors who have spent time inside report something curious. Within a few minutes, the silence becomes almost overwhelming. Some begin to hear their own heartbeat. Others hear a faint ringing that seems to come from nowhere, simply their own nervous system, quietly humming, no longer masked by any outside sound. The longest anyone has voluntarily stayed inside, alone in the dark, is said to be around 45 minutes, and most guides suggest visitors sit down, because in perfect silence and darkness, some people lose their sense of balance entirely. Engineers who design the room explain that ordinary rooms are never truly silent, even when they feel that way. Air conditioning systems hum faintly. Refrigerators cycle on and off in the distance. Blood moves through your own ears with a faint whisper you've simply learned to ignore over a lifetime of practice. It takes an extraordinary amount of careful engineering, thick double walls, isolated foundations, specially shaped foam wedges tuned to absorb sound across a huge range of frequencies to strip all of that background hum away and reveal what true near silence actually feels like. Visitors often describe the experience in surprisingly emotional terms. Some say the silence feels heavy, almost like a physical pressure settling gently over their skin. Others describe a kind of expanding awareness, as though their hearing, no longer occupied with outside noise, turns inward and becomes remarkably sensitive to the smallest internal sounds, the soft rush of blood, the quiet click of a swallow, the faint creak of their own joints shifting position in a chair. A few describe the experience as unexpectedly peaceful, almost meditative, Once the initial strangeness fades and the mind settles into the new, deep quiet around it, that single room built by human hands gives us the closest earthly echo of what floating inside a cosmic void might feel like. A silence so complete that your own body becomes the loudest thing in it. Isn't that a strange and gentle thought to rest on? That in the quietest places, whether built by engineers or carved out by the slow expansion of the universe itself, the last sound left to hear is simply the sound of being alive. Let that thought stay with you for a moment. Your own heartbeat, steady, patient, present, is already a kind of quiet company wherever you are. But now let's ask a stranger question. If a cosmic void is nearly silent, nearly empty, nearly dark, is it also, in some sense, doing nothing at all? Just an empty stage, waiting, unchanged, forever? The answer, it turns out, is the opposite. The voids may be the emptiest places we know of, but they are also, in a very real sense, some of the most quietly powerful regions in the entire universe. Let's drift into that idea slowly. For a long time, cosmic voids were treated mostly as a curiosity, interesting because of what they lacked, rather than what they contained. But as instruments improved, and as our understanding of the universe's expansion deepened, scientists began to realize that voids play an active, important role in the story of the cosmos. Here is the idea, told gently. The universe is expanding, not just galaxies moving apart from each other through space, but space itself stretching, quietly, everywhere, all the time. And in the 1990s, astronomers discovered something that startled the entire scientific community. This expansion is not slowing down, as everyone had assumed it should, pulled back by the gravity of all that matter. It is speeding up. Something is pushing space apart, faster and faster, and scientists gave that mysterious something a deliberately humble name, dark energy, because we do not yet fully understand what it is, only that its effects can be measured. And here is the part that connects directly back to our voids. Because voids contain so little matter, gravity has very little pulling power inside them. There is hardly anything there to hold space back. So inside a cosmic void, the expansion caused by dark energy proceeds with less resistance than almost anywhere else in the universe. Voids, in a sense, are where the universe's outward stretching is felt most freely, least burdened by the gravitational pull of galaxies and clusters. Some cosmologists have described voids as windows into the true, unobstructed behavior of dark energy, precisely because there is so little else there to interfere with the measurement. Studying how fast voids grow and how their shapes change over billions of years has become one of the most promising ways scientists have to understand this mysterious force that makes up roughly 70% of all the energy in the universe. So although a void looks like a place where nothing happens, it may actually be one of the clearest places to watch the universe's grand, invisible engine at work, the same engine that will determine over trillions of years whether the cosmos continues expanding gently forever or tears itself apart or eventually collapses back inward. All of that unfolding quietly, silently, invisibly inside the darkest, emptiest regions we know of. Scientists have even given this approach a name. They call it using voids as cosmological laboratories. Because there is so little matter inside a void to complicate the picture, The subtle signatures of dark energy's effect on space can be measured with less noise, less interference, less clutter than in busier regions of the universe. Large observation projects, mapping the positions and shapes of thousands upon thousands of void regions across the sky, are at this very moment slowly building a more precise picture of how fast the universe is truly stretching apart, and whether that rate has changed, even slightly, over billions of years of cosmic history. It is a strange kind of research when you think about it gently. Teams of scientists spending years of careful work, pointing enormous telescopes, not at the brightest, most spectacular objects in the sky, but at the darkest, emptiest patches of nothing they can find, because sometimes the clearest answers come not from the loudest places, but from the quietest ones. There's a kind of poetry in that, don't you think? That the places which look the most like nothing might be showing us something true about everything. Let your mind rest on that image for a while, if you like. Vast, dark, quiet regions, each one slowly, patiently stretching wider, carrying within their emptiness a quiet clue to the fate of all things. Let's soften the science for a moment and wonder about something more personal. Could anything live inside a cosmic void? At first, the answer seems obviously no. With galaxies spaced so unimaginably far apart, any civilization born on a planet inside a void would face a night sky almost entirely without stars beyond their own small galaxy. Astronomers have actually studied this scenario. A civilization evolving on a world deep inside a large void might develop with almost no visible evidence in their sky that other galaxies even exist. Their night sky might appear nearly black beyond the soft light of their own galaxy's stars, with no bright neighboring galaxies to inspire early astronomers to wonder what lay beyond. There is a gentle, almost melancholy thought hidden in that idea, that somewhere, perhaps, curious beings look up at a nearly empty sky and simply assume that is all there is. No hint of the billions of other galaxies filling the wider universe. No hint of the great cosmic web of filaments and clusters that we, fortunate enough to live near denser regions of the universe, can actually observe and map. And yet, the void galaxies that do exist tell their own quiet story. Studies of galaxies inside voids show that, freed from the crowding and gravitational tugging of dense clusters, they tend to evolve a little differently than galaxies in busier regions. Some research suggests void galaxies may form stars a bit more slowly, hold on to their gas a bit longer, and drift through a more solitary kind of cosmic life, undisturbed by frequent galactic collisions. Some astronomers have gently speculated about what it might mean, philosophically, for a civilization to arise in such a place, without the visible spectacle of a crowded, star-filled sky, without any hint of neighboring galaxies to inspire ancient myths of gods living among the stars, or to spark the earliest questions of what else might be out there. A void-born civilization's entire understanding of the cosmos might start from a very different foundation. Their first mathematics, their first stories, their first slow reach toward understanding the universe might all be built on the quiet assumption that they are truly, essentially, alone in the dark, with only their own small galaxy for company. It's a gentle, almost tender thought that the scale of loneliness or company a civilization feels might depend, in some small part, simply on where in the vast structure of the cosmos their home happened to form. Not through any fault or virtue of their own, but purely through the quiet accident of gravity, billions of years ago, deciding where matter would gather and where it would stay thin. Perhaps there is something instructive in that too. That isolation is not always a story of loss. Sometimes it is simply a different pace, a slower unfolding, a life lived with more space around it, undisturbed by the crowd. Let your own body notice something similar right now, if it helps. The quiet, unhurried pace of your own breath, the soft, private stillness of the room around you. You do not need a crowded sky to feel whole. Sometimes the emptiest, quietest spaces are exactly where something can rest, undisturbed, and simply be. Now, here is the deepest twist in our story tonight, the one that quietly rewrites everything we thought we understood about silence and emptiness in the cosmos. What if the voids are not simply empty spaces left behind by the universe's structure, but active participants in shaping that very structure from the very beginning of time? To understand this, we have to travel back, almost to the very start of everything, to a time before stars, before galaxies, before even atoms had fully formed, a time roughly 380,000 years after the Big Bang, when the universe first became transparent enough for light to travel freely. At that moment, the universe was almost, but not quite, perfectly uniform. Tiny variations in density, regions ever so slightly denser, and regions ever so slightly emptier, existed everywhere, like the faintest ripples on an otherwise still pond. Those tiny differences were caused by quantum fluctuations from an even earlier moment, stretched out to enormous size during a brief period of extremely rapid expansion called inflation. Over the following billions of years, gravity acted on those tiny differences. Patiently, slowly, the slightly denser regions pulled in more and more matter, growing into the filaments, clusters, and galaxies we see today. The slightly emptier regions, meanwhile, grew emptier still, as gravity drew matter away from them and toward their denser neighbors, carving out the great cosmic voids. In other words, the voids we see today are not accidents, or afterthoughts, or leftover scraps of space that structure simply failed to fill. They are the direct patient descendants of the very first. Faintest ripples in the infant universe, ripples almost too small to imagine, stretched by billions of years of cosmic time into regions hundreds of millions of light years wide. The emptiness itself is an echo of the beginning, a memory written into the structure of space of a moment so early that light had only just learned how to travel freely through the cosmos. Scientists have even been able to observe the faint fingerprint of those original ripples directly, and the cosmic microwave background, that ancient afterglow we mentioned earlier, filling every corner of the sky, including the darkest voids. When this radiation is mapped carefully across the whole sky, it reveals extremely faint variations in temperature, differences of only a few hundred thousandths of a degree, scattered across the pattern like the faintest possible watermark on old paper. Those tiny variations are the direct ancestors of everything that followed, every galaxy, every star, every void, every planet, traced back to fluctuations almost too small to imagine, occurring in the first fraction of a second of the universe's existence. It is a humbling thing to consider, gently, before sleep, that the same faint ripple of energy which billions of years later became the emptiness of a cosmic void hundreds of millions of light years wide, once existed as something almost infinitely small, smaller than an atom, smaller than anything we have direct words for. Before the vast, slow patience of cosmic time stretched it out into the scale we can now observe with our telescopes. There's something worth sitting with in that idea, that the vast, silent nothingness of a cosmic void carries, within its very shape, a message from the first fraction of a second after the universe began. Silence, in this sense, is not the absence of a story. It is one of the oldest stories the universe has to tell, written not in sound, but in space itself. Let that settle over you gently, the way a soft blanket settles over your shoulders. Even the emptiest places carry a memory. Even silence has a history. Let's return once more to that quiet image of you, floating in the center of a void. Around you, darkness, patient and near total. Above you, below you, in every direction, no wall, no horizon, no gravity to give the word above any true meaning at all. Time still passes, slow and steady, but with no day, no night, no sunrise to mark its passing. If you waited there, not for minutes, not for years, but for billions of years, you would witness something remarkable, the void growing wider still. The few faint galaxies scattered within it, drifting further and further apart, carried outward by the endless quiet stretching of space. Eventually, if the current understanding of dark energy holds true across the deep future, even the light from those distant scattered galaxies would fade beyond the reach of any observer at the void's center, leaving behind a darkness even more complete than the one we can imagine today. Some cosmologists refer to this distant future scenario gently as a kind of cosmic quieting, not a violent ending, but a slow, patient fading as galaxies drift beyond one another's reach and the universe settles into an ever-deepening stillness. It's worth noting this is only one possible future among several that scientists continue to study and debate. And it would unfold over such enormous timescales, trillions upon trillions of years, that it bears almost no resemblance to anything urgent or immediate. It is less a warning and more a distant, quiet horizon, so far ahead in time that thinking about it can feel almost restful, in the same way that looking at a peaceful, distant landscape can feel restful. Simply because it is so far removed from anything you need to do today. That is one possible far future for our own universe, a future of ever-deepening cosmic silence as space stretches wider and matter grows more and more isolated, drifting apart into greater and greater stillness. It's a vast thought, almost too vast to hold on to. So let's bring it gently back down to something smaller, something closer to home, something you can hold on to tonight as you drift towards sleep. Perhaps the reason cosmic voids feel so strangely comforting to think about, despite their emptiness, is that they mirror something we sometimes long for in our own lives. A little more space, a little more quiet, a little more room to simply exist without being crowded, without needing to fill every silence with noise. We live, most of us, inside a kind of cosmic filament of our own, crowded schedules, Notifications, traffic, conversation, deadlines, the low constant hum of modern life. It is rare in that busy filament to experience anything resembling the profound quiet of a cosmic void. But you can borrow a little of that quiet right now. Let your body settle fully into the bed beneath you. Let your hands rest, open and loose, at your sides. Let your breathing slow, on its own, without forcing it, the way space itself slowly, patiently stretches wider, with no rush, no deadline, nowhere it needs to be. Imagine, if it helps you, that the room around you is a small, warm pocket of light, your own quiet galaxy, and that beyond your walls stretches a vast, dark, silent void, patient and undemanding, asking nothing of you except to rest. You do not need to solve anything tonight. You do not need to understand dark energy, or gravitational waves, or the full three-dimensional map of the cosmic web, to feel the simple comfort of vast, patient silence settling gently around you. If it helps, imagine the boundary of your room softening, dissolving gently at the edges, the way the boundary between a void and its surrounding filaments is never sharp, but instead fades slowly, gradually, over enormous distances, matter thinning out little by little rather than stopping all at once. Let your own transition into rest be just as gradual. There is no single moment when you must switch from awake to asleep. It can happen slowly, gently, the way emptiness deepens gradually as you drift further from a galaxy's edge, until, almost without noticing exactly when it happened, you find yourself resting fully in the quiet. Before we let this drift all the way into sleep, let's ask one more question, a soft one, meant to stay with you rather than to sharpen your thoughts. If perfect silence does exist somewhere in the cosmic voids, is it something to fear or something to long for? Consider for a moment how much of our lives is spent avoiding silence. We fill rooms with music. We fill cars with talk radio. We fill the last few minutes before sleep with the glow of a screen, scrolling past 100 small distractions, simply to avoid sitting alone with our own quiet thoughts. And yet, the cosmos itself, at its grandest scale, seems to lean towards silence rather than away from it. The vast majority of the observable universe, by volume, is void, dark, cold, and nearly silent. The crowded, noisy, star-filled regions we call home are, in truth, the rare exception, small bright threads woven through an overwhelmingly quiet cosmic fabric. Maybe that tells us something gentle about rest itself, that silence is not empty in the way we sometimes fear it to be, a void to be avoided, an absence to be filled at all costs. Perhaps, like the cosmic voids themselves, silence is simply spacious, roomy, unhurried, a place where very old, very patient things can quietly happen, even if nothing seems to be happening at all. The voids are not dead space. They are not wasted space. They are, in their own slow way, actively shaping the destiny of the entire universe, simply by being still, by being empty, by giving dark energy the open room it needs to do its quiet work. Think of how often, in ordinary daily life, stillness gets mistaken for emptiness, and emptiness gets mistaken for waste. A quiet afternoon with nothing scheduled can feel wrongly like a wasted afternoon. An evening spent simply resting, doing nothing productive at all, can feel wrongly like time slipping away unused. But the cosmos itself seems to disagree with that judgment. The overwhelming majority of the universe, by volume, chooses stillness, chooses emptiness, chooses vast, unhurried, open space over crowded, busy activity. And far from being wasted, that stillness turns out to be doing some of the most important, most far-reaching work in all of existence, quietly determining, patiently, over unimaginable spans of time, what the universe will ultimately become. Maybe your own quiet evenings deserve a little of that same reconsideration. Not wasted time, not empty time, simply spacious time, doing its own slow, necessary work, mostly invisible from the outside, exactly the way it should be. Perhaps your own stillness tonight is doing something similarly important, even if it doesn't feel dramatic from the inside. Perhaps rest is never truly empty either. Somewhere underneath the quiet, your mind is sorting the day. Your body is repairing itself, cell by cell. Your breathing is slowing, your heartbeat softening, your whole system settling into the deep, unhurried work that only happens in stillness. Think, for a moment, of everything that happens in a body at rest, even though it looks from the outside like nothing is happening at all. Muscles you tensed without noticing during the day slowly loosen. Thoughts you were too busy to fully process during daylight hours quietly sort themselves into place. Small aches begin to fade. The mind, freed from the pressure of decisions and screens and voices, drifts toward its own natural, unhurried rhythm, the same rhythm in a way that governs the slow expansion of a cosmic void, patient, steady, asking nothing, rushing toward nothing, simply allowing itself to unfold. You do not have to work at rest. You do not have to perform stillness correctly. Just as the void does not strain to be empty, and space does not strain to expand, you do not need to strain to fall asleep. It will come, gently, in its own time, the way distant galaxies drift apart without effort, without hurry, simply following the soft, patient pull of a universe that is, in the end, far gentler than it first appears. So let yourself have this. A few more minutes, or longer if you need them, of resting inside your own small, quiet void. No pressure to think anything in particular. No pressure to stay awake for what comes next. Just space. Just quiet. Just the patient, unhurried settling of everything around you. So, is there perfect silence inside a cosmic void? In the strictest technical sense, nearly. Sound, as your ears would recognize it, has almost nothing to travel through in those vast, thin regions of space. If you shouted there, the sound would fade to nothing within the width of a breath. But in the deeper sense, the sense that asks whether a void is truly empty, truly still, truly without a vent, the answer is gently, quietly, no. Even the emptiest regions of the universe carry faint light from galaxies scattered far apart. They carry the ancient, cooling glow of the universe's birth. They carry, every so often, the passing ripple of a gravitational wave, silent to the ear but real all the same. And, most remarkably, they carry the enormous, unhurried work of dark energy, quietly stretching space wider, shaping the far future of everything that exists. Perfect silence, it turns out, may not truly exist anywhere in the universe, not even in its emptiest corners, but something very close to it does. Something spacious, something patient, something vast enough to hold both nothing and everything at once, depending on how closely you choose to look. And perhaps that is the truest answer of all, not a simple yes or no, but an invitation to notice how the two ideas, silence and presence, nothing and everything, sit closer together than they first appear. In the cosmos, in the quietest room ever built by human hands, and perhaps even here, in your own bed, at the end of a long day, silence is rarely the complete absence of everything. More often, it is simply the space left over once the noise has been gently cleared away, leaving just enough room for something quieter, older, and steadier to be heard instead. Maybe that is the most comforting thought of all to carry with you tonight, that even in the deepest quiet, something gentle is still present, something patient is still unfolding. And that stillness itself, whether cosmic or simply the quiet of your own room tonight, is never really empty. It is simply spacious enough to hold whatever needs gently to happen next. Let your breathing continue, slow, unhurried, steady. Let the room around you fade a little further into softness. Let your thoughts loosen their grip, one by one, the way galaxies loosen their grip on the space between them, drifting further apart, giving room for quiet, giving room for rest. Somewhere out there, hundreds of millions of light years away, a vast, dark, nearly silent void continues its slow, patient stretching, asking nothing of the universe except to be given room. Give yourself that same room tonight. No noise you need to make, no thought you need to finish, no place you need to be, except exactly where you are, sinking gently, gently into rest. If your mind wanders, that's all right. Let it wander the way starlight wanders across empty space, slowly, without urgency, taking however long it needs to arrive somewhere quiet. If a thought about tomorrow drifts in, let it drift back out again, the way a faint galaxy drifts to the edge of a void and fades gently from view. There is nothing to hold on to tonight except the soft weight of your own body resting and the slow, patient rhythm of your own breath, in and out, needing no instruction, no effort, no attention at all. Picture, one last time, that vast and gentle darkness, stretching far beyond anything a single mind could hold, quiet, spacious, patient, indifferent to hurry, unbothered by time. And picture yourself, small and warm and safe, held gently within your own quiet corner of it, wrapped in soft blankets instead of starlight, breathing slowly instead of drifting through vacuum, but resting in your own way, inside a stillness every bit as deep as the one hundreds of millions of light years away. Let your eyelids grow heavy if they haven't already. Let your thoughts grow slower, softer, further apart, the way galaxies grow further apart across the widening dark. There is no need to follow this story any further tonight. It will still be here, patient and unchanged, whenever you return to it. Somewhere, hundreds of millions of light years from here, the void continues on exactly as it has for billions of years, asking nothing, rushing nothing, simply existing in its own vast, unhurried way. And here, in this small, warm room, you can do the very same thing. No further thought required, no further effort needed. Just the soft weight of the blanket, the quiet rhythm of your breath, and the gentle, spacious dark, closing in around you like the kindest, quietest void of all. Sleep well, drift well, And if you'd like to return to the quiet corners of the cosmos again tomorrow night, we'll be here, ready to drift a little further into the dark together. Good night.